Hi everybody, this is Roger Aladdin Daltrey, and today I'm going to be doing a video in which I talk about a few artists, and one of the artists that I'm completely done with. And as some of you already know by now, the artist that I am done with is AC/DC. I used to like AC/DC at a very young age, I think around, when was it? Um, 2011, I guess. I think when I was about 13 or 14, and maybe for the first part of 15, I liked a bit of their stuff. And now for the reasons, and there's actually more than one reason that I'm done with AC/DC. But I think the biggest reason is, of course, when Axl Rose of Guns N' Roses had to replace Brian Johnson because of his hearing problems. That really, in time, it really turned me off of them, and also their attitude. I had read that Angus Young had basically done so many devil's gestures, and he would often act weird on the stage too, and basically acting very weird in concerts, like basically saliva dripping from his mouth. You know, at that kind of attitude. Um, But also, there was a very serious moment when I found out that his brother Malcolm Young had passed away. So there's no offense to that, because I know it's a very tough time for them now. But the only reason why I'm doing this video is because I've been turned off by this band for several years. As I said, because of Axl Rose becoming the singer, even though people say to him, "Axl, please, just stick to Guns N' Roses." Like, for example, in the Aladdin TV show, which is my favorite TV show of all time, and The Return of Jafar, which was the sequel to the original Aladdin film in 1992, basically, the guy who does the voice of Homer Simpson, Dan Castellaneta, he came in to replace Robin Williams. That's why people say, "Dan, please, just stick to being in The Simpsons." Because The Simpsons were in their 6th and 7th season at the time, so when it was season 8, Dan went back, and then lucky thing, Robin Williams came back. But that's just an example of successful actors and celebrities from the famous TV show they're in just comes in for a current one that they're in. You know? And I've also, in the past few years, I've talked to some good few people, like some teachers in my school. I asked them what they thought of AC/DC, not knowing what their response would be. I had no idea if they liked them or not. And they wrote to me, well, where to begin? Really like their early releases, Pinnacle, sorry, Pinalacine, with Back in Black. However, I never considered them as one of my all-time favorite acts because of their heavy music and outrageous performances. Their later efforts have fallen flat for me. I'm sure that there is absolutely an obnoxious band deep inside, and if you were to ever catch them in a small hall, unlikely, that they are absolutely one of the worst bands. Their singers screech all the time, and of course, a few lineup changes. It happens. See, that's another thing over the last few years that's kind of bothered me, is that some artists that I really, really liked, that I still do like, had even been opening acts for them as well. Like, that's the thing. There's some bands that I really like, but then they have to end up being with some satanic bands. Like, AC/DC have done co-headlining things with loads of things. And even on WatchMojo.com's top 10 hard rock artists of the 1980s, a few of my all-time favorite bands are on that list with them. It's happened with Aerosmith, it's happened with Van Halen, and now all of a sudden AC/DC get on there. What's next? Motley Crue are getting back together? My head hurts. But anyway, I just think that AC/DC are very satanic. Like, I only liked them because I liked I liked the instruments that they used, like all the guitars they used. But then, all of a sudden, I found out that they were very satanic, so I just basically stood back from listening to them. But that wasn't the only thing that annoyed me about AC/DC. What also annoyed me about them was that their songs just sound the same. See, that's the thing. Some artists' songs sound the same. Like the Ramones songs sound the same because in songs like Blitzkrieg Bop, for instance, they only really use three chords, and that goes for all their songs. Like even the '50s rock and roll artists like Chuck Berry and Elvis, they all have all their songs basically sound the same. Like I think the Chuck Berry songs Maybelline and 30 Days, they all sound similar to each other. And there's a few other ones as well, like some Elvis tunes. Like I think a bit of Blue Suede Shoes is a bit similar to Johnny B. Good, with the same kind of riff. Even heck, even AC/DC did a cover of Johnny B. Good, I think in live concerts, and even Judas Priest did it as well. Like I remember I was watching like one of my favorite comedy shows is You've Been Framed, and there was somebody who was going like this on their rocking out to music very hard, and Harry Hill was stating it'd be similar to those guys who listen to music like AC/DC, Judas Priest, and Same Difference. And what also has annoyed me about AC/DC in the past few years was that they were one band that were not allowed to be part of my house because of their satanic stuff. That's the thing, all those satanic bands, they technically weren't basically allowed in this house because they have to be appropriate acts. Not having stupid gestures like doing the devil horns or anything like that. Just anything in general. See, that's the thing. And also, recently, I also heard the sad news that George Young, their manager, had passed away. So, for that, I'm going to talk about in a minute, and then I'll talk about Malcolm Young then later on. So, technically, that's the thing. I think, sure, AC/DC were almost going to break up when Bon Scott had passed away. Just before they started working on Back in Black. And what I also heard was, and as I said in when I did my Tom Petty tribute video, I stated that Running Down a Dream was a rip-off to Whole Lotta Rosie, which is also a similar title to Whole Lotta Love by Led Zeppelin, which is from the Led Zeppelin 2 record. And basically, that's the thing. A lot of their songs sound the same, even though they tend to be one of the biggest bands in the world. Like even Back in Black is like is close to being one of the best-selling albums of all time. It's up there with Thriller by Michael Jackson, Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd, Rumors by Fleetwood Mac, and then there's a couple of other ones as well. And also, a lot of the band members kept quitting. Like basically, AC/DC are technically no longer together anymore because, firstly, when the Black Ice tour was done, Malcolm Young got diagnosed with a bit of illness. That's why he had to quit the band. And then Phil Rudd got arrested for legal troubles. Sure, even after Flick of the Wrist, they got after I say not Flick of the Wrist because that's the same title of a song by Queen from the 1974 record Sheer Heart Attack. It was also I think it was called Flick of the Switch, and even your man from, I forget what his name was, but I know he's from Procol Harum. He came in to complete the recording if needed. So then Phil Rudd didn't come back till like 1994, and then the next year they did Ball Breaker from 1995. And now all of a sudden he got kicked out because of the legal troubles. And then Brian Johnson had to step down from touring because of his hearing problems, because that's the thing. What also annoyed me about AC/DC was that there was never a moment of frickin' silence. I'm dead serious. Because they're just loud all the time. And also, and now of course, Cliff Williams had retired as well after the Rock or Bust tour. So now Angus Young is the only guy left in the band. And even Steven Tyler from Aerosmith inducted AC/DC to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I don't know why he'd do that. Can't they just get someone else to do it? Like for example, when Black Sabbath got inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, they were inducted by Lars Ulrich and James Hetfield from Metallica. And basically, and Metallica is one artist that I'm done with as well. But I'll tell you some other artists that I'm done with after I'm finished with all this. And some people are saying that AC/DC are considered as the greatest band in the world. And who cares, you know? Like, for example, The Who, Kiss, and Genesis have never been rated as the greatest bands in the world. So I think those three bands are the best bands in the world anyway. And even Aladdin has never been bragged as the best cartoon character in the world, when I think that. Because, as I said before, he's the man. Okay. At their last album, Rock or Bust, I remember I read a review on YouTube from somebody, and he really liked the album, and I heard that it was the shortest AC/DC record there, running at like 35 minutes. And it even had the addition of Stevie Young, their Angus and Malcolm's nephew, as their new guitar player. And you know what? I never played it, and I'm never ever going to play it in my life because I'm not allowed to listen to AC/DC. It's just the only time I've heard AC/DC now is when I hear them on the radio. You see? See, that's just how much AC/DC has turned me off in the last year or two, or even 4 years. And basically, in the past few years, I've not listened to them because I'm not allowed to listen to them. And also, the only time I hear AC/DC is when they're on the radio. So it is time for me just to say, thank you, AC/DC. Goodbye, AC/DC. But rest in peace, Malcolm Young. That I'm not going to rant about because it was a very serious moment, because I only found it out today, so for that, I'm not going to talk about. It's just a goodbye AC/DC video. And if I ever hear the songs again, they're just played on the radio, like Highway to Hell, Hell's Bells, Back in Black, You Shook Me All Night Long, TNT, It's a Long Way to the Top If You Want to Rock and Roll, Thunderstruck, which to me was a major rip-off to Pinball Wizard, and it even sounds a bit like the Bob Dylan track Saved, with the even in the Saved chorus, it sounds a lot like Thunderstruck, because I think they actually copied the riff to Save and even to Pinball Wizard. And there's quite a few more actually. They could just be here on the radio and what so. So if they were allowed in my house and if they were part of my CD collection, I'm not sure what I'd do with them. Well, firstly, I can't give them away because they'd be quite expensive to ship. But if they were here, I'd probably take them down to a charity shop or sell them locally or whatever. But I promise you all, I am done with AC/DC. Now, here's my question for you. Was there ever a band or artist that you really loved throughout your whole entire life, and then at some point you're like, okay, that's enough, I'm done with you? And you know, there are a few artists I've been done with lately. Like, for example, yesterday last year, I gave up on Thin Lizzy because some stupid alter ego idiot was impersonating me as Roger Daltrey. So that's why now I added in the Aladdin to put in the middle name. And so he was trying to make me as Brian Robertson. So that's why I gave up on Thin Lizzy, for a good reason. That's why when I hear songs on the radio, I just turn them off and play all the Genesis hits, because Genesis are a million times better than Thin Lizzy. I also had given up on Metallica because of the collaboration with Lou Reed, because Lulu was very bad, and even a friend of mine who is going to be playing who's going to play the drums in my future rock band has said, "Oh, Lulu's the worst album I've ever heard." I had also given up on although I'm not fed up with him or anything, I had given up on Chris de Burgh because, as most people had, because not many people liked Lady in Red, but I think he sings it brilliantly, but just like it, but the song itself is quite boring, but his vocal is beautiful. And you know, I am going to get so many negative comments on this video, and you know what? I don't care. It's my own personal opinion. But if you like AC/DC, I respect your opinion. It's just I've changed my mind about them in the last 3 or 4 years. But rest in peace, Malcolm Young. For all those people that were big fans, you made their lives brilliant. It's just, for me, I'm just done with them.